You clicked, you reap what you sow, so now you get a whole bunch of Mitch. Welcome back to Karma's a Mitch. Super big stuff going on. Canada Day tomorrow. I myself am a big patriot. I love our nation as a whole. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy about the subject, especially just on Canada Day specifically, so we're going to get into that. Just got back from helping out my brother with a flat tire, and I wasn't going to talk about it, and now I probably will. Went to Costco today as well, and again, wouldn't normally talk about that, but just like people, hey, right? Like I can't stand it with them. And of course, there's always going to be other things here, there, and whichever. Again, I think we did hay last time before. I think. What did I do this week? I can't remember. I can never remember, and that's my problem most of the time. Let's talk about that because I am still kind of reeling from the heat. It wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't that bad. It was bad, but, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, it's one of those things where, you kind of, like, you kind of go, oh, this sucks. I hate this. I'm never going to do this again. This is awful. And then after it's done, you're like, well, I mean, I probably could have done a little bit more. Or, well, you know, I guess I'll do it next time. I did a lot out here where you're just like, oh, this is going to suck. This is going to suck. And then it sucks. And then afterwards, you're like, same time next year, you know? So we did about, what do we say? 400 or 500 bales, small square bales. And it was me, my brother, one of his friends, and Dad was running the tractor. Mom and my other brother also helped out whenever possible. It's one of those things where, like, sure, it sucks when you're doing it, but, like, it's not one of those problems where you can solve it with more people. Because it's just, you know, you're just going to get in the way, and one person has to do basically one thing. Otherwise, you're just going to mess each other up, and you're just going to get in the way, and it's going to suck. So, we didn't have more people, which is fine. Probably just would have gotten in each other's way. Because, I mean, you're supposed to, like, help each other, take breaks, you know, like, don't entirely work the whole way, but I specifically don't like doing that. I'd rather just do it. Like, I did concrete work out on the lake. And I just put music on, and I just did what I was told. And that's how that went. And it was super hot. Sure, we were down by the water, but you don't want to be working wet. And that's, like, there's a difference between, like, you know, like, getting your hair wet and being cool, and then being, like, in the lake. Because we were, like, dousing ourselves with water as well. And, like, it was ice cold. It was from the cooler. Little brother would bring it up. Littlest brother, I should say. And, you know, you'd be able to just dump that on your hair. I took my shirt off because I'm not fat and I'm able to. I didn't get much sun on it, which is probably a good thing because I would have definitely burned like crazy. I think my neck's like super red right now too, but I don't really know. I don't really care because I can't look and it doesn't hurt. The cowboy hat was a major investment in that. The wide brim and stuff, super nice, just like covers you all over. And it's just also a light hat because a lot of my hats were like, you know, they're mostly like trucker hats, but they're also super heavy canvas as well. So having something that isn't going to absorb moisture or hold in heat like crazy, super, super nice. Really glad I picked it up. It's cheap, but it did its job. And I can always just bend the brim back how I want it. So I'll take it. And it worked really well. And it kept me cool. And like I said, I'd do it again. Of course I'm going to do it again. Of course I'll probably have to. Canada Day's tomorrow. And it's always fun. A lot of people don't like it. because of things the government has done in the past, like residential schools. People have tried to bring up like racial stuff as well, otherwise, but I look at it kind of differently. I'm not saying that none of it didn't happen. I'm not saying none of it isn't important. What I am saying is we have to look at it as a basis of the community and not the government, and not the choices that the government has made in the past. It's a celebration of everyone that calls themselves Canadian, because I think it's a good thing to be called a Canadian. And there are other people now that I'm gonna get Don Cherried if I speak too much. You people not wearing poppies. But there are other people who live here and don't call themselves Canadian, and they just see it as a place instead of as a community. And yes, I have a Canadian flag in my room, and yes, I wear pins and I wear the flag, and I am proud to be Canadian, and I'm proud to be here. All this stuff with the 51st state, Canada not for sale, all that sort of stuff. It and even just the things that Canadians have done, looking back into World War II and kind of the liberation of the Netherlands, and Vimy Ridge in World War One, and just how, is prolific the right word, but just how known Canada is for their help. Like even in Afghanistan, and the Boer Wars is a lot further back, but like there's the people that say that it's not a. Someone's doing stuff over in the corner of my room. I think someone found a cat food tray. Having a snack. Where was I? Right. Like the people that don't look at like the immigrants that we took in from war zones, and just the people that have helped build a very new nation. Like Canada only just hit 150 a handful of years ago. This is big. Like we're still building this, and we're supposed to be proud of where we are. And a lot of people that aren't, and a lot of people that are angry and don't do anything about it, and don't do anything to make a difference. Because I'm not saying anyone is right or wrong. I'm not getting into the politics of everything. I'm on the side of Canada. And I don't care what politicians have said that. I don't care. That's not what I'm saying. I am all for the nation. And the people that say they don't like it, and they don't like the things that they've done, and they don't like where they're living, and they don't do anything about it, whether to make Canada a better place for them, or to just move to somewhere where it's better. Like the amount of people that are saying like Iran and Palestine and all these sorts of things, and that they're just total good places, like there's nothing bad about them, and they don't open their eyes up to that. Hey, all of these bad things are happening here, and worse. Like it's difficult to be a woman in Iran, and I don't know much about Palestine because I don't look into much of that. I just know more about Iran because World War III, woo, Gulf War, third time's the charm, right? Like we've done Afghanistan, we've done Iraq, we've done I don't think they didn't invade Kuwait, but like Gulf War III, Electric Boogaloo, right? Like I've done a little bit of reading and stuff on that, but like the amount of people that go, oh, that place is so great, we need to help all these people, we need to, but like I'm just gonna stay here in Canada, or I'm gonna stay here in America because I don't actually want to move out there because it's not actually the utopia that I've been calling it. Like this is why, like, and you have that freedom to say that here. You don't have the freedom to say all these things. Like, if someone were to talk good about Russia and what they're doing in Ukraine, still what they're doing in Ukraine, which I feel like has been kind of swept under the rug. If you were to say anything bad about Russia there, you're going to the gulag. Like, you can't say bad things about these places, and you can't say bad things about the government, and you can't say bad things about the terrorist groups that have taken over, like Palestine and that sort of place. And they don't understand that we have the freedom to make F Trudeau stickers and put them on our trucks, and to put them on a flag, and to fly it out on our front yard or off the back of a truck. Like, you have that freedom here. You don't have the freedom to say, I don't even know what his name is, but you don't have the freedom in China to say your leader looks like Winnie the Pooh. You can't talk about Tiananmen Square in China. I've seen people that go on like Marvel Rivals. That's the one. It's made by a Chinese game studio. And Kat, would you like out? She can't figure out how the door works. There you go. I'm leaving everything in. People go on Marvel Rivals and they can't type in certain things. Like, you can't type in Taiwan's a country. But you can type in Taiwan is not a country, because they were forced to put that in. They're forced to push these agendas. And it's not really even pushing an agenda that way, but it's censorship. And it's pushing an agenda by omission. And we don't have that here. We can say what we want. Sure, there could be consequences if we tell someone to like off themselves, or if we bully someone. But it's not total punishment, and it's not punishment by talking bad about the government. Like, sure, if you say, like, if you give a death threat to basically anyone, the cops could show up and be like, hey, you can't do that because that's fair. But you can say, hey, I don't like our prime minister, and there aren't any consequences for that. Like, I don't think people actually realize the scope of things, and I sure don't. I sure don't know how bad it is, but I sure know it's better here than it is in other places. And we need to fix our problems here as well before we try and help everyone, everywhere, all at once. And I think that is what a lot of people don't realize when... Let's take the gun buyback program, for example. That was estimated to buy all of the guns back from law-abiding citizens in Canada. It would cost billions of dollars, with a B, billions, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billions, to buy back all the guns legally purchased in Canada, because they can't just take them. Because if you try and take everyone's guns, what do you think will happen? You try and take all of these armed people's guns for nothing that they have spent thousands of dollars on, and just take them. What do you think will happen? So they're going to properly financially reimburse them. And that will cost billions of dollars. That's a lot of money. You could solve a lot of problems for that. And trust me, the gun buyback program is not going to solve any of them. None of your problems with gun violence, none of your problems with firearm deaths, none of your problems with illegal firearm use is going to be solved with a gun buyback program. But we could solve homelessness. We could solve food shortage. And now I can't remember it. But we could solve all these problems, like housing. We could solve housing problems. We can help people outside of our country with this money that they think is going to solve one problem. And it's not. It's going to be a waste. And that's just one example of things that they are doing. Because I went to the mall maybe a month or two ago. And I know these signs are still up around Hamilton. And it just was a sign of a handgun tucked in the back waistband, which is the worst place to carry a handgun, by the way. And it just said, illegal firearms, stop it. No threat, no jail time, just, hey, we're not going to do anything about this. Please stop, though. But all of these legal firearm owners, the ones that actually follow the law, the ones that actually legally purchase and legally have a license and legally keep up that license and store them properly and all these things, we're going to take things away from them because we know it'll work. And again, this is just one thing that I know a lot about. I know enough about to talk about. But there are many other examples. And I've kind of gotten off course, but basically saying, hey, guys, it's better here than you could think, but can we solve our problems first? Because we do have them. And I'm not saying this is utopia, but I'm saying that this and our wonderful nation of Canada is, I think, better than the States with a lot of our people and our mannerisms and the fact that we as a community understand each other and other people, I think, better. Because everyone is so diverse. Because everyone is basically an immigrant. Everyone came here looking for a better life, and we need to make that for ourselves. And everyone who says bad things about Canada in general, again, I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about the people. And Canada as a whole. I'm proud to be Canadian. I'm proud to celebrate Canada Day. And I'm proud to call myself Canadian. And to put each other and other Canadians first. And I think that's what other people need to do. So now, less than 20 minutes in, that's the heavy stuff basically out of the way. Because I think that is what's most important out of the entire episode. And again, I'm not really qualified to talk about politics. I don't like to talk about politics. And if you disagree, you are entitled to that opinion. However, I'm also entitled to mine. Now, you can speak your opinion, absolutely. But you need to understand that I don't have to agree with you. And you don't have to agree with me. And that's okay. And we can still be friends. It's not that hard. And that's what a lot of people kind of seen in the last kind of election cycles, because we had, we had a ward election for our county, and then we had the premier election, like Ontario government election, and then we had the federal election. So three sets of elections. And the amount of people that just, it's not single problem voters. It's, if you vote for this person, you are a piece of crap. And trust me, they use stronger language. I don't understand how it's that big of a problem. To anyone, really. To anyone on what my politics are to you. Because at the end of the day, unless someone gets mad, it's just a conversation. It's no different than saying, hey, my favorite movie's X, Y, and Z, and here's why. I don't expect you to go, oh, then yes, this is my favorite movie as well. But maybe you go, oh, well, there are maybe a couple points in there. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you go, I think you're completely wrong. Because guess what? You're entitled to that opinion. Because we live in a free country where we have the ability of free speech and freedom of thought and all of these amazing things that people don't understand go both ways. Just because I think something does not mean you have to think it, but it does not mean that I have to think what you think. And a lot of people don't get that. And a lot of people start then calling you names for that because they don't understand how to have a normal conversation with someone who disagrees with them. And if you disagree with someone, then they must be a whole bunch of names. I've been called a bunch of them because of what I think, especially because I'm a firearms owner. And I mean, you're entitled to call me that. Absolutely, you can call me that. But the thing is that you have to realize that you're also wrong when you call me those things. Now, again, I don't want to get too far into it because I'm getting back into it. And I will start talking in circles because I've already forgotten what I've said. So that's just a little reason why I celebrate Canada Day and why I think we all should, and why we all should be proud. Again, you're entitled to your opinions, but I'm entitled to mine. So thank you. Thank you for listening. If you agree, I'd love to hear. If you disagree, I'd also love to hear that, because guess what? I'm open-minded. You can always reach out to me at my socials, Mitch.fm, MITCHDOTFM, and I'd love to hear from you, because that means you've listened over 20 minutes into this. And you didn't turn it off because you were angry, because you could listen to me, and that's something I appreciate. Because it is not as bad as you think. I believe most people are good, and that's where I'm coming from with all of this. I think it's a loud minority. I think it's also has to do with journalism and the fact that yes, people that are angry and people that are mean and people that have extreme views, regardless of which direction they are, make better news than people who say, hey, I believe this, but you are entitled to your own opinion, and if you'd like to learn more, or if you'd like to flesh out, or if you'd like to try and convince me, we'll have a civilized discussion about that, and we can be nice to each other. That doesn't sell, because journalism now is based on clicks. How many clicks can you get? How many clickbaity, this, that, everything you can get? Who can be the first one out instead of the right one, the one that is most correct? That's what journalism is now. And I don't agree with it. That's why I think a lot of independent journalists, maybe not. Independent journalism is difficult because you don't have really a governing body with that. Now, does that mean I like major media better? No, absolutely not, because they are 100% basically profit driven. So I think the independent journalists who do it for the love of the game and to not push a political agenda is much better. If depending on, because I've seen this like ground news thing, and I've come across it on the YouTube, all the people that I watch for different not really political takes, but like, hey, what's happening with the Middle East? What's happening with Ukraine and Russia? I don't look at Israel at all. I don't care. It's not my war. And I'm pretty sure they're doing fine also themselves. I don't think they need help. I think they're okay. Hey, they made the Uzi. They made the Galil, which is the 5.56 AK. Really funny tangent, actually. So Kalashnikov made the AK-47, and everyone based everything afterwards based off that. I don't know how many AK variants he actually made up to, but he made the AK-47, the most produced, I think, most produced gun in the world. The person that made the Galil, the 5.56 AK for the IWI, so that they could use NATO ammo, his last name was Balazhnikov. And it sounds so made up and funny and just like a joke, that they actually tried to call it the Balazhnikov, and they had to change it because people were angry and they thought they made it as a joke. So that's my tangent about the Galil. I don't think it's a great gun, but I think that story's funny. And it shoots 223, 5.56, so, hey, if it's NATO, it works. And they did it so that they can produce it themselves, and that's why they didn't just like buy it from someone else. Because I mean, really, when they started, everyone kind of hated them, and they didn't know if someone was going to flip, so they just kind of kept everything inside. Which is why America is protecting Taiwan, is because they're the ones that make all the microchips, and all of the a lot of the American munitions rely on those microchips because very few places outside Taiwan can actually make them. So again, there's some there's my limit of world politics, which is basically just fun facts. And why are they doing this? There's a lot of other reasons, but that's just some of them. Again, do your own research. I'm just an idiot with a microphone and internet access. What was it talking about? Oh, right, ground news. So ground news is basically the thing where it shows you all of the news. And by all the news, I mean all the sources. So it shows you sources from the right, it shows you sources from the left, what is the left covering that the right isn't, and what is the right covering that the left isn't. And, do they have multiple sources or multiple people talking about this, or is it just a weird echo chamber and they're just making stuff up to get clicks? And I don't know how well it'll work with Canadian news because it's an American sort of thing. So I don't know. And I also don't care about the news that much. It really doesn't affect me as much as really anything. And so I don't think I'm really bothered. But if you're going to actually care about the news, look at multiple sources. All this stuff with the LA riots, and I don't even know if they're still going on because again, I don't follow it. But a lot of the news sources would make you think that the whole city's on fire when it was really just happening, I think, over 2 blocks and just one area, and it was all happening there. And yes, you shouldn't be burning cars. You shouldn't be looting stores. You shouldn't be walking on the highway. Don't do that. You also shouldn't throw rocks at cops from up on the overpass, because then they are going to shoot at you with 40 Mike grenade launchers. They have rubber bullets. They're not actual high explosive grenades. Don't worry. The cops don't have those. They have the launchers. They don't have the actual grenades. Those are much harder to get and for military use only. And then they sent in the military. But another one of my favorites was that someone posted a picture of either the National Guard or the Marines lying on the floor inside, sleeping. And they're they didn't even give them a place to sleep. They didn't, no. And other people that served in both the California National Guard and the Marines were nah, they're inside. They have air conditioning. This is better than 99% of training. They don't need a bed. They sleep on the ground, not in a tent, in the rain. So they're chilling. They have their phones. They're having a good time. They'd be in the forest if it wasn't for this. So they're pretty chill. They're good. And again, that's all I know about it. Really, that's all I really know. What do you think about this? I don't think about much, really, because it doesn't affect me. And I told you we have problems in a different country and basically across the continent that we should worry about first before we start having riots. I haven't heard of riots in Canada about ice, like, because the amount of people that still somehow don't realize that, like, we're a different country. And like people are like, I know we send aid over to Israel and that sort of thing, but like the people that are out there with flags and stuff, and the people that are organizing marches and shutting down roads and stuff in Canada for Palestine, and we're going like, we don't do much with that. So I don't know what you're expecting to happen, but okay, sure. Do you have a job? Like, and again, I'm not saying it's a good thing that happens out there. And I don't have many opinions on it because I don't know. I can't really talk on this. The amount of people that are like, why hasn't Mr. Beast said something about Israel Pal? Because he makes silly little challenge videos. What is he gonna do? Oh, well, he spends all his money, and no, all the money he gives away and all the money he makes just goes into the next. Like, I'm pretty sure he's sitting at like a pretty low, like, net value is pretty high because he has this company that's valued at a lot. But I'm pretty sure just like actual cash, I'm sure he doesn't have much. Like, he's putting it all back. Like, what? And what do you want him to say? Like, what's he gonna do if he comes out and takes a side? Like, it's not gonna change anything. If you care so much, go over and fight. Take your side. That's my thoughts, really. And trust me, I don't have one, because I don't know enough about it. I was talking about Canada, wasn't I? I've gone on for another 10 minutes about this. So speaking of first world problems, I was in Brantford today, going to Costco. And since it's summer vacation now, everyone has their kids. And if you're shopping at Costco, you have a minimum of 3 kids. A lot of the times more. So I don't mind kids. I don't mind, kids will run around, kids will be kids. What I have a problem with is a lot of the parents who just, like, think it's okay. Because the kids are going to do it regardless. But if a kid, like, runs into you, or if a kid, like, just is, like, standing there, and the parent just looks, and then looks at you, and then looks back at the kid, and is like, I don't know what you want him to do. Like, move! Move! Get out of the way! Like, I get mad at grown-up people that can't drive a cart or that can't look. Like, I try not to get in the way. And I try and be aware of my surroundings. And, like, again, the kid's just going to stand there. Absolutely. But when the parent just kind of, like, understands what's going on and still just ignores the entire fact, do something about it. Like, move your kid. Like, it didn't happen today. But, like, if your kid's, like, gets into something or breaks something and you just, like, I don't care. That's not mine. Like, what? If we broke something, like, we didn't pay. You're a child, you wouldn't pay for it, but, like, you learned your lesson afterwards, right? And you learn not to do it again. Or, if you get in someone's way and they are kind enough to stand there and just kind of, like, look at you, and, you're a little kid and you don't know what's going on outside of, like, the 2 feet in front of you because you're just unaware, and your parents have to yell at you and be like, hey, get out of the way, like, keep your head up. Like, look, like there's other people around. It's not just you here right now. So, like, parent better. Well, it looks like a late episode because now I am going to soccer. So I'll be back afterwards to talk about whatever I was going to talk about then. All right, back from soccer. And they didn't win, but they didn't lose. So, hey, a win's a win. It's not. It was a tie, is what it was. But Madison did get a goal. So, there's that. And it was a pretty good one, too. So, we'll take our wins where we get them. I don't think have gotten one. Because, again, they're 8-year-olds. He slide tackled the kid, and it was clean. Like, it was only ball. It was no kid. Like, it was just that. And they called him on it, and they told him he can't do that. And all of us were like, that's bull crap. He should be able to do that. But I guess it's not allowed. So, well. It got rained out as well, because it's been raining weird here. And, like, we haven't gotten so much rain. It's been so dry. It's just all sitting on the ground, and it's not getting soaked back up, which kind of sucks. What was I talking about beforehand? What? Maybe let's switch it up. Let's not go back and do anything. Let's switch it up. I was gonna be talking about. I wanted to talk about something. Oh, the Beaches came out with a new. They released a new song, for their album, which should be coming out around August. So let's pull it up. No Hard Feelings by the Beaches. It's coming out hopefully August. They have 5 tracks out right now. Did I say too much? Touch Myself, Takes One to Know One, Jocelyn, which was, I think, the first one that they released. Actually, I heard it, I think, before they released it when I went to their show at the Bud Stage last year. Yes, last year. And that's when they started it. And then Last Girls at the Party was another one as well that they've released. I think it's actually coming out to be a really strong album. Now looking at does it come up on Show Complete album? They have another song, Lesbian of the Year's probably going to be a good one. Fine, Let's Get Married, Can I Call You in the Morning? Dirty Laundry, I think, is going to be another really good one as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, hopefully August. The music videos the music video for Touch Myself was a little much for me. But I've said this before, and I've said this, I'm going to keep saying this. I am not the target audience for the Beaches. I love the music. Blame My Ex was such a good album. Absolutely no bad song on that one. That one I got up over, actually beside my Canadian flag on my wall, over in that far corner, away from my hip stuff. Actually, that's a lie. Everything's hip. Everything is hip stuff. It's actually on my poster of Gord's Final Salute. I absolutely have to do an episode on a national celebration once it rolls around mid-August, whenever that's going to be. I don't know if I want to do it like, I listen and I watch and I kind of record my thoughts as I'm watching it, or if I'm just going to, like, absolutely not be able. I'm gonna, like, I cry every single time I watch it, so I don't know if I'd be able to. But I'm looking forward to this Beaches album because I pre-ordered it, because after the handful of songs that they have, and I really like them, it definitely was worth it. And I like to buy albums. I don't like the streaming stuff. I don't like, what is it, Apple Music or Spotify or any of that. I can't stand it, because I want to be able to burn a CD. I want to be able to rip CDs. I want to be able to buy CDs. That's my kind of thing for that. So, No Hard Feelings. The Beaches, absolutely great already. Again, I said I'm not the target audience for the Beaches. They have said before, their target audience is the girls, the gays, and the theys, and I always said and Mitch, of course. I have sat back down and now my mic is super hot, so I don't know what's going on. They're from Toronto, absolutely great musicians. Saw them the first time at the at Bud Stage. Might go see them at Scotiabank as well. They're playing in November, of course, after their album comes out. So they're going to be playing probably through the whole album, actually. And I, again, really, really, really want to see that. But we'll have to see. Who knows? Wherever I'll be, because hopefully I have a job. Because I really don't like being unemployed. I don't like doing nothing. Like, I'm doing stuff here, but, like, it's not enough. Like, it's not a full job. Like, I just saw something maybe 5-10 minutes ago that was like, hey, people, like, do actually want to work. Like, most people want to work. Like, most people want to actually be a productive member of society. The people who don't, like, that's depression. That's not, like, anything else. So, I'm kind of bored, really. But, like, there's plenty to do. I just need to be told to do it, or else I'm gonna find something for me to do, and that's like reading, because I've started reading The Luckiest Man in the World. It's about an old World War II vet from America, Papa Jake, the luckiest man in the world. Made it through D-Day, made it through, I think, the Battle of the Bulge as well, and didn't earn a Purple Heart. Didn't get hurt. And I think he got, like, the Bronze Star and stuff as well. Like, really, really awesome guy, and really great stories. He's over 100 years old, and he went on the Unsubscribed podcast a while ago. And just the amount of memory he has, the amount of just amazing stories and just story recollection as well of what he can tell. Amazing story. So I'm going to read through it because, I mean, they only had like an hour for the podcast because he's like 109 or something. So he can only get through so much because there's so much he hasn't told in there. He had tuberculosis, which was a big thing because you can get it from raw milk. I was talking about raw milk with someone recently because I've been in the milking sphere. I almost got murdered by a cow. Well, I don't know if it was murder. I think she just liked me a lot, and then almost ended up trying to kill me. But you can get it from raw milk, and you can get a whole bunch of other diseases and stuff because, you know, bacteria. It's not just from what's in the cow, but also like what's on the cow, and especially back then when they didn't even like really clean the teats either. So there's a reason why you should drink pasteurized milk, why you should be at the very like why you should have like filtered, not filtered, like fine filtered, like that. I think Fairlife is that like super fine filtered where they filter out the lactose and then it just tastes like water because they like the lactose is the sugar in milk. So you don't need like fine filtered. You just need to take the solids out of the milk because that's not good for you. So like there's a reason you pasteurize milk, and a lot of people don't realize that. My favorite story is the I don't know if it was like an American senator, I don't know if it was some sort of like elected official or just like a lobbyist, but they lobbied for raw milk rights. You know, I want to be able to drink raw milk. So, you know, they fought for it. They actually got it, and then they had a party, and then everyone, I don't think everyone, but at the very least that major lobbyist got sick. And I think that's really funny. Now you can, like, there's lots of places that sell like whole milk and like really rich stuff. Little Brown Cow outside of Brantford is a great one to go to. They have jerseys. Now jerseys, there's two main types of milk cows. There's Holsteins and jerseys. I've done Holsteins. We've had a Jersey cow here, and she was very moody. But jerseys give a higher milk fat percentage, but Holsteins give more total. So like it comes out to roughly the same if you like, I think if you feed them the same, but like if you feed them better, I think the Holsteins are actually better off. or maybe it's just personal preference. I'm not actually a dairy milker. I just have done it. Oh, right, my brother. So I had to go help my brother right before recording. And it wasn't going to be anything. It was just going to be heading out. You know, he had a flat tire. Go bring him 2 tires, well, 2 wheels, because he has different sized rims. So all you got to do is just go out. And, I mean, it was on his front tire, so it was on his drive axle. So just go out there, switch the thing over, super easy. And it was, like, everything went great until I left and the truck tailgate fell down. And I turned, which had everything in the back, kind of shift around, and then all the sockets went right out the back and right down all across Highway 20. Right basically at Highway 3. Right at the parts store. The tractor parts store. Previously has slips. And I heard it fall, and I went, oh no. And I look back in the mirror, and it's just sockets. And like, I think people tried to hit it. You can see all this stuff scattered across the road. It's a 60 as well. And people just hit everything. And they don't even slow, they don't even slow down to 60. So they're going 80 through there, and they're just like, stuff on the road? Sure, let's hit it. That sounds like a great idea in my, Honda Civic. Like, what are you doing? No. We cleaned everything up because, of course, and they're, impact sockets, so they're expensive. And they were fine as well. But, come on. The tailgate's broken, so I thought it was up. I didn't have it down, so it stayed up the entire time I was going out there. And I should have thought, maybe I shouldn't put this loose socket set in the back of the truck. And maybe I should put it, in the cab. So, I don't have to pick up sockets from inside the truck bed. And then I was like, no, it should be fine. And then, boom, scatter. And again, why wouldn't you, you don't have to stop. You don't have to stop and help us. It's a busy road. There's people. There's lots of people. But slow down. I'm still standing on the side of the road. People can't smarten up and just move or sacrifice 5 seconds to be maybe I shouldn't go over all of this stuff. And maybe I should slow down. Because, if you send one of those sockets up into something at that speed, it's gonna break something. It might pop your tire. Now you're gonna be stuck with a flat. And personally, don't really want to help you if it's actually your fault and not just, oops, there's something sharp on the ground. Oh no. No, you saw it and you were like, I'm gonna hit that. And it's not well, maybe they didn't see. It's a long road. And me and my brother running out across the road trying to pick up all these sockets, and then oh, car coming, get off the side of the road. And just slow down. People okay, maybe there's nothing on the road. Maybe you can't see anything on the road. There are 2 people that were just running around the road and are now standing off to the side. Are you going to blow past them at 20 above the speed limit? No. Well, not if you have a brain. And welcome to the public shouldn't probably have a license. I think it's a way too easy to keep your license. They kind of just go, all you gotta do is get it once. You don't have to keep testing for it. But maybe you should. A lot less people would have a license, but I think the roads would be a lot safer. Now, I pulled up statistics, and I rarely do this because rarely I care. Because I was going to look at, fatalities between like guns and cars, because it is just as easy to kill someone with a car than a gun. Actually, it's easier because you can just go out and buy a car. You don't even need a license for it. They don't even check. It's a lot harder to buy a gun. However, I think it's really hard to kill yourself in a car. So, between 2016 to 2020, there were 4,005 deaths by firearms. 2,895 were suicides. That's 72.28% of sex combined. Now, looking at Canadian motor vehicle traffic for fatalities between the same time frame, between 2016 and 2020, you could easily say at least 1750 a year between the 5 years. So let's just do a quick calculation of 1750 times 5. It is more than that. That's 8,750. That is more than twice the number of deaths by firearms. And again, 70% of the deaths by firearms were suicides. It's an awful statistic that I didn't know was that bad. But how many of both of those could be mitigated? Could be not a statistic with mental health counseling and a better drive test program. How many of those were untrained drivers? There's a lot of drivers now that just aren't licensed at all, that are driving big rigs, and they shouldn't be. And there's a lot of people that got a license that really shouldn't have, and got the test, like the like driver's school papers, and didn't actually do it and just paid for it, and they just got their stuff signed through. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening. Wow. Almost 3,000 people. Really, that's less than 1,000 people a year. And between, again, 2016 to 2020, more than 1,750. It might be closer to 1,800, I actually think. Probably closer to 1,800 for vehicle deaths. That's crazy. And then the amount of injuries, and like you're getting into the hundreds of thousands a year for just injuries. Let's look at hospitalizations. So all causes for hospitalizations between the 5-year period was only 3,000. Hundreds of thousands a year of injuries. Like, it's ridiculous. And I mean, again, I'm not saying guns aren't a problem. Illegal guns are absolutely a problem. But these car crashes are worse. Oh, but I don't want to limit the cars, and I don't want to make it so much more difficult for people, because to ride on the, oh, I'm going to make driving more difficult, you're not going to get elected on that. But saying, oh, I'm gonna stop gun violence, when gun violence is not one of the biggest killers in Canada. I'm sure there's some sort of flu or cancer that kills more people every year in Canada than guns. And no one wants to put billions of dollars into research for that. Again, yes, illegal guns are a problem. Sometimes legal guns are a problem. But there are solutions that you can spend these billions of dollars on so much better. So I'm just saying that's something we should look into to make Canada a better place. And I think that's where I should wrap up this episode. Again, if you disagree with anything, if you have any other opinions, if you just want to reach out and talk, absolutely hit me up. Mitch.fm over on the socials. Yeah, because you really don't need to be one of those suicide by firearm statistics. Or cars, if you can manage a car. It's hard to guarantee you'll die in a car. There's only 206 instances of hospitalizations by self-harm. So 206 people failed, which is a good thing if you're talking about suicide. So remember, reach out, talk to people, make sure they're doing okay. Because it's not just mental health month any month. Like it's mental health month every month. You don't have to just make it one time. And I just watched a Josh Johnson special as well, if you know him, the comedian, on the TikTok challenge of like calling your friends, and of like guys calling their friends and saying goodnight or saying I love you or texting I love you, and then all of them like going insane because he's like, where are you? Like I'm going to come find you. Like you don't have to do this. And they're like, dude, I'm just saying goodnight. Like chill. Because there's a lot of instances of people actually saying that, and then people responding in a kind of joking manner and kind of brushing it off, and then that's the last time they talk to them again. And you don't want to be either person on the end of that story. So reach out to people, and if you need it, reach out to someone. Anyone. Because trust me, they'll respond well. So again, thank you so much. Everyone's making Canada a better place. Being Canadians. Remember, you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. I do personally believe that karma is a Mitch. Thank you so much for listening. Check me out on the socials, Mitch.fm, Mitch.dotfm. You can also find every single one of them over on my website, Mitch.dotfm.ca. Thank you so much for listening again, and have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Monday.